Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sat sri akal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, buna, and privyet. It's really, really good to be with you again, and I'm really happy about the amazing guest that we have with us today, and it's Shauna Van Mourik. And Shauna is a copywriter and content strategist, and I'm so happy to have you with us, Shauna. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I will have you jump right in and tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. All right. So yes, Shauna Van Mourik. And actually, what's really funny is that we were talking about my name prior, and you said it more Dutch this time around than I could have ever tried to say it. So that was perfect.
Oh,
So beautiful. And I'm like you say, a copywriter and content strategist, and I focus on what I like to call the two icities, which won't surprise you. I like language. I like the way it goes. So I've made up my own word, the two icities. They are authenticity and simplicity. The
nice.
reason that I like to focus on these things is because the more authentic you become, the simpler life and business, and of course, copywriting and content strategy gets. The simpler it gets, the more authentic you can be. And this tandem, this circular motion happening where we can just feed off of these two amazing notions to really emerge and blossom as our unique and authentic selves in a way that feels laid back, simple, and fun. Um, in addition to that, of course, because I come from a marketing space, this also really helps you stand out and get noticed by your dream clients. So why the heck not?
Yes, why the heck not? And I just absolutely love your value and focus on authenticity and simplicity. And wow, the idea that the two actually support each other, that I, my gosh, it's like the more I'm thinking about it, the more it makes sense. It's brilliant.
It really does, and it's really cool because it's a harmony. It's a harmony because, and people speak about it all the time about how you just become at ease with who you are, how you stop caring what other people think,
Yeah.
and then how choices become easier, actions become easier, life becomes easier. People talk about manifestation. It's the same idea. Things
Mm,
start to fall into place. And it's
yeah.
all this harmony that kind of moves you forward and allows you to present yourself in such a way that it really attracts what is necessary in your world.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have a question.
I love questions.
So when you talk about being authentic, making things more simple, at one level for sure, exactly what you're saying, as you were saying it, makes a lot of sense. And then I started thinking about myself and I was like, okay, if I'm being really authentic, for example, in the way that I speak, I have a few quirks to how I do it. One, I'm a philosopher by nature. I actually have philosophers, like philosophies in my family. My grandfather was a literal professional philosophy professor. And while I didn't go into it professionally, I definitely am a philosopher at heart. And so I tend to speak very philosophically. And so when it comes to communicating my ideas with people, I often feel a sense of like most people will not get my style. Like I go too deep, too fast. I tend to use like technical terms that are familiar to me, um, but may not be familiar to other people. And so I have sort of gotten into the habit of sort of consciously being like, Samia, are you expressing what you need to say simply enough? And so is that a good thing for me to do, or is that taking me more in the direction of inauthenticity? Or is this not what we're really talking about in the context of authenticity?
Those are all really great questions. And like any complicated question, the answer isn't super simple either.
Right.
However, we can definitely make it accessible. So
Mm,
as you were discussing your your emotions behind these two ways of presenting yourself, um, I thought about it in two ways, naturally. So you've got, yes, you want to be authentic to yourself. Yes, you're a philosopher. I can totally resonate with that. I tend to gravitate towards that contemplative, what if space. Let's use rhetoric. Let's find the truth of things. I totally understand that. And so we don't want you to detach from that. That brings you joy. That fills your cup. And you said specifically, that may not attract most people, but the question there is, do you want to attract most people, or do you want to attract the
right.
right people? And I mean, these words make sense from a standpoint of who you want to surround yourself with as a person, because we are humans first, regardless of, I mean, I work with a lot of businesses who do marketing. We're going to approach that next. But as a person, who you want to surround yourself with will be those people. They're the people who are going to bring you light. They're going to light your fire and really get you moving on to creating a bigger impact in all that you're doing. Now, reflecting on the authentic part of that in the marketing space, I know based on our conversations that you're also a teacher. You share insights. You share the greatest teachers in the world were these people who just stepped forward and discussed ideas and notions. And in being a teacher, you need to be able to meet your pupils where they're at. Same goes with marketing. You need to be able to meet your audience where they are. And in doing that, you're going to take away some of the jargon. Yeah, you're going to use some less complicated notions or methods of thought, so that you can bring people to that level of understanding. And that is authentic. That is you reaching out and inviting people into your world who may not have otherwise been able to access that. So it is absolutely authentic to be able to take out the jargon, to be able to refine your messaging, which is really important in all copywriting and marketing, and just target that audience who wants to be there, who wants to be in that space, but maybe they're not there yet.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways that I also love to think about it is in terms of just my own personal growth. Because one of my mentors, he says the people who are truly masters at what they're doing have also developed the ability to communicate what they are wanting to communicate about whatever their area of mastery is in a way that is simple and effective. So it's also just me working on my own mastery to work on this aspect of how I communicate.
Absolutely. One of the best questions that you can ask yourself as a business owner, and simply as a person,
Mm,
right, is how would you explain what you do, who you are, to a 5-year-old,
right.
right? That idea, and I'm a mother of 3. I have a currently a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And they're beautiful children, and they're quick. They're quick kids, but still, they're 3, 5, and 7. So when they say, well, mom, why do you have another call? What are you doing with this? Why are you on your computer all the time? To be able to translate copywriting and content marketing strategy to a child allows me a different level of understanding what I do. And
Yeah.
when they want more details, that makes it even more fun, because
Right.
then I get to look at, okay, so I'm trying to help this person to tell more people about how they can help them. And then we start getting into the spiral. And the more you do it, and this is true for authenticity and simplicity, keeping things simple. The more you do it, the practice that you get from doing it, the better you get at it and the
Yeah.
more mastery you have of it.
I love it. I absolutely love everything you've been sharing. So can you maybe talk about a problem that you see people struggling with as they try to engage in copywriting and content strategy in an authentic and simple way? Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that popped in my head is fear.
Hmm.
And it's hard to broach that topic because it's very wide reaching. So you've got imposter syndrome, right? When you don't think that you're as good as you're saying you are, or you don't think you can achieve the results that you have in fact achieved in the past, but you have these second thoughts and all of those hard things. And then there's things like esteem, your self-esteem, this fear of putting yourself out into the world. This can be triggered by any number of things, including things like trauma.
Mm.
And let's face it, our media is not friendly to a wide variety of people. Unless you look and act a certain way,
Yeah.
the media is not necessarily friendly to you. And so there are a lot of different angles in which fear can present itself.
Yeah.
So that winds up being a huge hiccup. And what that looks like more often than not is either you don't show up,
Mm.
very plain and simple, you don't show up. You show up inconsistently because you keep having these hiccups, you keep having these hesitations, or when you're showing up, it's copycat. You've got this cookie cutter copy that is inauthentic to you, that you've just said, well, it's working for Sally Joe, so I guess I should do it. And then you go and you try to do it. You do not see the same results because who knew you're not Sally Joe? So it's this dynamic, and you're not achieving the success that you could otherwise achieve if you could really step through. And I'm never going to ask you to not be afraid, because being scared is so important. And you cannot be brave if you were not already scared in the first place. So what I ask of you is to step through the fear, walk through it, and emerge on the other side courageously, showing up as who you are, as only you can.
Hmm. Ah, my gosh. Oh, this idea of fear being at the bottom of what's holding us back, it's an idea I've been contemplating a lot recently. And, been coming to this conclusion that really it's fear pretty much almost always at the bottom of like whatever issues we are struggling with. And like one way or the other, when you get to the very deepest levels of digging to get to the root of it, fear is there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so often also I think, like some of the fears that you mentioned in terms of whether it's self-esteem or whether it's, that imposter syndrome. I mean, it's like that's what we see. Even that is sometimes more like surface level. And underlying that, one of my mentors, I didn't believe this for a long time, but one of my mentors, she said, at the bottom of all of that is usually I'm not enough. That's really the root. And so, like anything that you can do to uproot that idea of you not being enough, that revolutionizes our life.
It really does. And that fear
Yeah,
of not being enough, it can come from so many different places. And so your evolution in that space is going to look different than anyone else's. And that's why
right.
it's so important to have a community surrounding you that will help you to move forward. And I'm going to argue too, that's why it's so important to show up.
Yeah.
Even when you may not think that you have a community around you,
Mm,
showing up, being brave, that's going to really impact not only yourself, but people you don't even know who are watching you,
that's so
who are
true.
cheering you on from the sidelines. The
Yes.
ripple effect of you really, I like to say, you flying your freak flag, whatever that is that you think is not enough, fly that damn flag high, right? Somebody is watching you and somebody is waiting to hear what you have to say as only you can say it. And it will change their lives. And in you doing that, again, we're going to go back to practice. This
Mm,
practice will help you to kind of step out of yourself and realize, damn, I did that thing. And that thing doesn't need to be, don't get me wrong, I'm not the person, I would never push somebody to breaking point.
yeah.
I'm a pretty big lover of yoga and things like that. So stretching, moving your body. And when you're doing that, you're really invited to take the stretch to where it
Mm,
feels a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit, but not too far, because that's going to hold you up. That's actually going to hold you back from moving forward
yes.
and progressing. So bend, don't break, right? Get yourself out there. If that looks like for you showing up on a podcast, awesome, freak do that. But if that looks like, what, I think I'm going to tell people that this is my business. And you include, I've had this conversation with other people in the past where if, let's say, you write a lot of emails and you haven't really included your title in your
Mm,
business because you were a little bit nervous, you're like, what, I think that's my bend. I'm going to put I'm going to put VA or I'm trying to invent all these other, whatever coach. Maybe you're actually going to say transformational life coach underneath your name. And as every email you send out, it's there. Maybe people will notice, maybe it won't, but maybe that's your bend without breaking. And
mm.
each time you stretch that muscle a little bit more, you're going to be able to expand that reach. You're going to be able to show up more authentically and really lean into who you truly are.
Yeah, that is another excellent point. This stretching strategy, I absolutely love it. And for sure, when you're trying to learn a new skill, also like copywriting and content strategy, or trying to at least learn enough about it that, like, I don't know if I'll ever be a master at copywriting and content strategist, and I don't have to be a master at it because I'm a happiness expert, but I do want to learn enough about it so that when for example, if I am working with someone to help me with copywriting and content strategy, I can tell the difference between when someone's done a good job and when they haven't, and sometimes I do have to write some of my own copy. Um, and so I need to know at least a certain, you know, fundamental basic level of it. Um, and so just to have this attitude, I'm just learning, I'm growing, I'm going to get better and better at it over time. I love that. So that makes me actually think, can you give us a few tips
Yeah.
on like what effective copywriting involves? Um, yeah.
I would love to. And what's cool about that is that I've actually, and this goes back to, I love that you were like, oh, because I'm a happiness expert. I'm like, because I like to make things fun and interesting and memorable. And just like, if you've got to do the dishes, you might as well put bubbles in the water, like just do something. So what I've done with this is I've made it into not really an acronym. It's three words that represent the basics, very core basics of copywriting. And it is called You Need Copy. Who knew? So you stands for something. It stands for you. And I don't mean you as in me. I mean you as in your audience. I mean, keep it about them. Try not to use too many of the I's and we's and that. I hate to say it, they don't care about you. They care about their own problems and the solution that they could find in their problems. So keep it about your audience. Need, establish need. Make sure that they understand why this is so valuable to them and the impact that it can have on their lives. There are a lot of different ways that you can establish need. One of the most effective ways is through storytelling. So explore how you can use that to establish need in your audience. And then the last thing, of course, is copy. Copy are words that get people to take action. So don't forget to include a call to action. If you omit the call to action, people don't know what to do next. They recognize that, okay, this is for me. Okay, yes, I have this problem and I want this transformation. But then you've left them hanging. Right. They don't know where to find it. Show them. Take their hand, use it, and create copy that drives action. Click this link. Book this phone call. Drop your email below. All of these things are calls to action.
Yes. And I love the examples that you just gave of the call to action, because I remember, especially in my early days, I used to think about, okay, I want to do a call to action, and I used to make it way too complicated. But going back to the principle of simplicity, no, keep it simple. And it really can be as simple as click that button or drop your email in that. I
And it
love
really
it.
should. And that's the core about copywriting, is that you want it to be very simple and direct.
Yeah.
You want it to have personality. You want to tell a story. You want to get creative about it. But it really does, in the end, need to be very direct. A
Yeah.
confused mind doesn't buy. And when I say buy, I don't necessarily mean monetary buy. I mean investing their time and energy in whatever you have to offer, even if it is just to read your next blog.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I think also it challenges us to take into consideration the fact that, like when we make very complicated asks for people, it's like every layer of, like, if you're asking them to do two things or three things or four things all at once, God forbid, that's a lot. But it's like for each thing, then they have to think, am I willing to do this? And at each stage, it might be, no, I'm not. And so you're actually reducing your chances, versus if you just make one ask, there's only one opportunity that they have to think about. Do I want to take this or not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this actually goes back to one of my principles, the methods that I really rely heavily on when I'm going through all of my copywriting and content strategy is, if you've ever read the book, The One Thing, that is really crucial to all of what you're doing. I combine this method, and I'll touch on it. I'll combine this methodology with a number of others, like the 12-week year, which I also love. All these planning and organizational things for content marketing, really helpful. But that one thing, what is one thing you can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? So important. Make that same choice on behalf of your audience when you're writing your copy, so that they can just, everything else is unnecessary. This one thing is all you need to do to solve your problems. Book a call. Your problems will be solved on that call. Yeah, you're going to ask them how they'd like to pay or whatever. But like you need to be very clear and directive and make it easy for them to actionify whatever it is you're requesting.
Yes, exactly. And I think also this is like the key difference that earlier you were talking about the you need copy, right? And I think this is, you beautifully highlighted the difference between, just somebody having great, let's say, storytelling skill and the difference between copywriting for the purposes of creating sales, because there are actually lots of programs that are out there to teach you how to be a great speaker, like in a general context, and you become a great storyteller. You're able to, go on stage and have a great presence. But those programs, a lot of times they don't teach you about the part of how do you get people to take action, and so these amazing speakers, storytellers get on stage, move people in amazing ways, but then they leave, audience leaves, nothing changes. And that's really sad, especially for like person like me or our other audience who are change makers or coaches and trainers and healers, etc. We're not just about, you know, creating change for ourselves or entertaining people with our, stories or whatever. We are out in the world because we want to change people's lives. We want to change the world in positive ways. And so we have to know how to be able to move people into action. And so I so appreciate what you're teaching and why I think it's so important for us as change makers to know the skill of copywriting, at least, like I said, in the basics, even if you're not going to become expert copywriters.
Absolutely. And it's really cool because, and this is me, I'm going to geek out a little bit on you guys. Um, so like copywriting is words that get people to take
Yeah.
action. A lot of my root training comes from psychology and rhetoric is the art of persuasion, very simply put. Um, and a lot of that stems from ancient Greece with Aristotle and Plato and the sophists. And and what's really interesting is that that actually stems from a very oratory practice where people would speak in a very persuasive manner. And rhetoric, true rhetoric, is, we're going back to philosophy because it's this, you're seeking truth.
Yeah.
You're looking to find the truth of things. And in copywriting, you could imagine, let's say a coach is using copywriting to, in the rhetorical sense, to seek truth. You're trying to present somebody with, this problem exists for you. You need this solution. We know that. We've now established that this solution is what you need.
Mm.
This is how you get it. And how you get it is that call to action. And so that's where you drive the action towards a solution. And so you see that in the spoken form as well. The only part that, and this is where a lot of people get hung up too with the fear, because a lot of people associate copywriting with sales. And then a lot of people associate sales with sleazy sales.
Right.
Used car salesman, you get that all the time. And what that is DS rhetoric. That is rhetoric used to persuade in a way that it's not good. It's not authentic. It's not got your audience's best interest in mind.
Yeah.
In short, it's propaganda. Right. And so using rhetoric really ethically is important as well, because as change makers, as legacy creators, we need to make sure that the legacy that we're leaving is that of positive change, positive impact. We need to be seekers of truth, not just purveyors of popular opinion, or maybe not popular opinion that you try to make popular for your own benefit. That's not the way we work here. We want to keep it simple and wholesome and true to you and true to the betterment of everyone. I'm getting a little hokey here, but
I get it. And you know what you made me think of is that quote: with great power comes great responsibility. And actually, the skill that copywriting, as you so beautifully said, is really all about, it's like tapping into our ability to persuade people. My gosh, of course it's a skill, but it's also a power. And it's a great power. And it's a power that I guess all of us want. Who wouldn't want the power to persuade? But with
Every
great power, right? Great power comes great responsibility. And so I am so appreciative of you bringing in this ethical aspect. And it goes back to, the values you started talking about, authenticity and simplicity and how the two work together. And in order to make that happen, you have to be brave and use your power responsibly.
Absolutely.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, Shauna, I'm having such a fabulous time talking with you, and we have to begin to wrap up for right now. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to share with us, or just anything else that you want to say?
Yeah, you know what? I love philosophy and I love the nature of our conversation. It's definitely lit my fire and it just brings me joy. That said, we also discussed a lot of somewhat heavier notions. And and I want to encourage everyone who's watching to play to play. And the reason I say this, and I spoke on a panel recently that where I had to kind of bring everybody around again to this idea of play, because we are still living our lives while we're doing all of this. And we want to make sure that when we're presenting ourselves, when we're trying to be brave and courageous, when we're using our persuasion ethically, that we're doing so playfully, that
Yes.
we also invite people into this space and we do trial and error that we kind of know might fail, but we do it anyways because, hey, why not? And embrace that playful, curious attitude while you're approaching all this, because you're going to fail whether you plan to or not. You're going to fail. And the best way to truly enjoy your failure, I mean, that sounds very contradictory, but it's true. You can enjoy that failure, is to keep that playful attitude, just to say, well, that didn't work. What's next?
Exactly. And really, failure is feedback is one of my favorite things. And it's so true. Failure is just feedback. And it's just, that's just how life works. I think there's another saying about how life doesn't come with a manual, but it does give you lots of feedback. So you can learn and you can grow and have fun in the process. I
Might as
love
well.
it.
You might as well. I truly believe
Yeah,
that. You might as
I
well have fun
agree.
with it. Okay, so this bad thing happened. All right, let's find the good. Look for the good.
Exactly. And then it's not bad anymore because bad is a perception.
That's
It's a
it.
perspective that we have, and we can choose to switch our perspective to one that is more happiness promoting, more peace promoting, more fun promoting, and all of that also creates more ease for us in our lives. So my gosh, you just hit the secret of how to make change fun and easy. I love it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Again, just I really, really appreciate your having joined us today and shared all of your, not all of your wisdom. You have lots more wisdom to share. And so I want to encourage you, our listener, to please make sure you check our show notes, connect with Shauna, because she has lots more wisdom to share and lots more amazing tips to share and strategies to share with you. So make sure you connect with her, get the help and support you need to learn how you can become more persuasive and maybe get her help to smooth out your copywriting.
And hey, I won't bite. I also like to make friends. Let's have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So click on those show notes, connect with Shauna, and until we connect next time, I just wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.